My name is Thomas Brennan, and I'm 67 years old. I spent 35 years as an RCMP officer, and in that time, I learned that the worst crimes aren't always committed by strangers. Sometimes they're committed by the people you'd trust with your life. Last Tuesday, I walked into my bank in Vancouver to make a simple deposit. The branch manager, a woman I'd never met before, took one look at the check in my hand and pulled me into her office. She closed the door, her face pale and serious. "Mr. Brennan," she said quietly, "your nephew isn't who you think he is. And if you sign those documents he's been pushing on you, you're going to lose everything." 3 days later, I was standing in a gleaming downtown office, watching my sister's son crumble as his lies caught up with him. But before I tell you what happened in that room, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. And if you believe that family means holding each other accountable, not enabling each other's worst behavior, hit that like button and subscribe. It started 6 months ago, 3 weeks after I buried my wife, Linda. She'd been the center of my world for 42 years, and when the cancer took her, it felt like someone had scooped out everything inside me and left just an empty shell. I was sitting alone in our house in North Vancouver, surrounded by 40 years of memories, not knowing how to function in a world where Linda didn't exist. That's when Ryan called. Ryan was my nephew, my sister Sarah's only child. Sarah had passed away 3 years earlier from a heart attack, sudden and cruel. After she died, Ryan and I had stayed in touch, but not closely. He had his own life, his career in real estate development, his girlfriend. I was proud of him from a distance, the way you're proud of family members you don't really know anymore. "Uncle Tom," he said on the phone, his voice warm and concerned. "I've been thinking about you. You shouldn't be alone right now. Why don't you come stay with Madison and me for a while? We have plenty of room." I resisted at first. I'm not the kind of man who needs looking after. But Ryan was persistent, and maybe a small part of me wanted to be around family. Sarah's boy, the last connection I had to my sister. So I packed a bag, thinking it would be a week or two, and drove across the city to Ryan's place in Yaletown. The moment I walked into Ryan's apartment, I felt like I'd stepped into a magazine spread. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking False Creek, furniture that looked like it had never been sat on, a kitchen with marble countertops that gleamed under recessed lighting. Everything was white or gray or chrome, cold and perfect. Madison greeted me at the door, a tall woman in her early 30s with perfect teeth and perfectly highlighted hair. "Thomas, we're so glad you're here," she said, kissing me on both cheeks like we were old friends, even though we'd only met twice before. "Ryan's told me so much about you. A real-life Mountie. How exciting." There was something about the way she said it that made my service sound like a hobby, like I'd been a weekend warrior instead of spending 3 decades investigating actual crimes. But I smiled and thanked her, because that's what you do. Ryan appeared from his home office, dressed in an expensive-looking suit despite it being a Saturday. "Uncle Tom," he said, gripping my hand firmly. "Welcome. Make yourself at home. What's ours is yours." He showed me to the guest room, which was as sterile as the rest of the place. Gray walls, white bedding, abstract art that could have been hung upside down for all I could tell. "I know it's not what you're used to," Ryan said, noticing my expression. "Madison's really into minimalism, helps with her social media content. She's an influencer, you know. Lifestyle and wellness." I didn't know what that meant, but I nodded. The first few days were awkward. Ryan left early for work and came home late. Madison spent her time arranging food on plates and photographing it, or filming herself doing yoga in the living room, speaking to her phone like it was a person. "Good morning, beautiful souls," she'd say to the camera. "Today we're focusing on gratitude and abundance." I'd watch from the kitchen, drinking my coffee, feeling like an intruder in a performance I didn't understand. But then things shifted. Ryan started coming home earlier, spending time with me. We'd sit on the balcony overlooking the water, and he'd ask about my career, about my life with Linda. He seemed genuinely interested, genuinely caring. He'd bring home dinner from expensive restaurants, pour wine, tell me about his real estate projects. "I'm working on this amazing development in Squamish," he'd say, eyes bright. "Luxury townhomes. Pre-sales are through the roof. It's going to set me up for life, Uncle Tom. Madison would chime in about their plans, about the trips they wanted to take, about the life they were building. It all sounded impressive, successful. But there were small things that nagged at me, little details that didn't quite fit. One evening, I noticed Ryan's watch as he poured wine. It was a Rolex, or at least it was supposed to be. But I'd seen enough stolen goods in my career to know the difference between real and replica. The weight was wrong. The movement of the second hand wasn't smooth enough. I didn't say anything. Another time, I picked up one of Madison's designer handbags that she'd left on a chair. She had a dozen of them displayed on a shelf like trophies. The leather felt plasticky. The stitching was uneven. The hardware was too light. These weren't real Gucci or Prada bags. They were convincing fakes, but fakes nonetheless. And then there were the bills. I wasn't snooping, not intentionally. But one morning, looking for a pen in the kitchen drawer, I found a stack of envelopes bound with an elastic band. Red ink on white paper. Final notice. Immediate payment required. Past due. Credit card bills. Car payments. Condo fees. All of them overdue. Some by months. I put them back exactly as I'd found them, but my mind was already working. This wasn't success. This was a house of cards. 2 weeks into my stay, Ryan came to me with documents. It was after dinner, after Madison had gone upstairs to film her evening meditation routine. Ryan sat across from me at the dining table and placed a thick folder between us. "Uncle Tom, I wanted to talk to you about something important," he said, his voice taking on a serious tone. "It's about estate planning. I felt a small knot form in my stomach. I've already got a will, Ryan. Linda and I took care of all that years ago." I know, he said quickly. "But things have changed since Aunt Linda passed. And with you getting older, it's important to make sure everything's properly organized." I spoke with my financial advisor, and he helped me put together some documents that will protect your assets, make sure everything goes smoothly when the time comes. He opened the folder and pulled out a thick stack of paper. "It's all standard stuff. Just signing over power of attorney to me, setting up some trusts, that kind of thing. It'll make everything easier for everyone." He flipped to the last page and pointed to a blank line. "Just sign here, and I'll handle the rest. No need to worry about the details." Every instinct I'd developed in 3 decades of police work started screaming. "I'd like to read it first," I said calmly. A flash of irritation crossed Ryan's face, quick as lightning, then vanished behind a concerned smile. "Uncle Tom, it's 30 pages of legal jargon. You don't need to torture yourself with that. I've already had 2 lawyers look at it. It's completely standard. Then it won't hurt for me to read it," I replied, reaching for the documents. His hand shot out, holding the folder down. "Look, I know this must be hard for you. Losing Aunt Linda, having to think about your own mortality. But you need to trust me on this. I'm family. I'm looking out for you." The knot in my stomach tightened. "Ryan, in my entire life, I've never signed a document without reading it first. I'm not going to start now." The mask slipped just a little bit more. His jaw clenched. His eyes went cold. Then he forced a laugh. Of course. Take your time, but don't take too long, okay? These things have deadlines." He stood up, leaving the folder on the table, and walked out of the room. I sat there in the silence, staring at those documents. And for the first time since moving in, I felt afraid. Not of Ryan, exactly, but of what he might be capable of. The next morning, Ryan suggested we go out. "You've been cooped up in the apartment too much," he said, over breakfast. "Let's get some fresh air. I need to stop by my bank anyway, and then we can grab lunch." I agreed, grateful for any excuse to get out of that sterile apartment. We drove downtown in Ryan's BMW, which I now suspected was leased or financed far beyond his means. He parallel parked on Burrard Street, and we walked into a sleek glass tower that housed his bank. The lobby was all marble and modern art. Ryan checked his phone. "I need to run up to my advisor's office on the 15th floor, he said. "Why don't you wait here? There's a coffee shop right over there. I'll only be 20 minutes. But I didn't want coffee. I wanted answers. As soon as Ryan disappeared into the elevator, I walked up to the main banking counter. A woman in her 50s with kind eyes and a name tag that read Carol Patterson. Branch manager looked up at me. "Can I help you, sir?" "I hope so," I said. "I'm Thomas Brennan. My nephew, Ryan Brennan, banks here. I have some questions about some documents he's asked me to sign." Carol's expression changed immediately. The professional smile vanished, replaced by something that looked like concern, or maybe recognition. She glanced around the lobby, then said quietly, "Mr. Brennan, would you mind stepping into my office for a moment?" She led me through a door marked staff only and into a small, tidy office. She closed the door and gestured to a chair. "Mr. Brennan, I'm going to be very direct with you because I think you need to hear this. Your nephew is not who you think he is, and if you sign whatever documents he's pressuring you to sign, you're going to lose everything." The world seemed to tilt slightly. I gripped the arms of the chair. "What do you mean?" Carol sat down behind her desk and folded her hands. "I can't give you specific details about your nephew's accounts because of privacy laws, but I can tell you that he's in serious financial trouble. Serious trouble. And I'm telling you this because—" She paused, seeming to gather her courage. "Because 3 years ago, my son invested in one of Ryan's real estate developments. He was promised guaranteed returns, told it was a sure thing. Ryan showed him glossy brochures, architectural renderings, pre-sale numbers. My son put in his life savings, $50,000. She took a breath. The development never happened. My son lost everything. When he tried to get his money back, Ryan claimed it was tied up in legal disputes with the city, with contractors, with suppliers. But I did some digging. There was no development. There never was. It was a scam from the start. Ryan took money from a dozen investors and used it to fund his lifestyle. I felt like I'd been punched in the chest. Did your son press charges?" "He tried," Carol said bitterly. "But Ryan's smart. He structured everything through numbered companies, shell corporations. The lawyers said it would cost more to pursue than my son had already lost. So Ryan got away with it. He's gotten away with a lot of things, Mr. Brennan. And now I'm watching him do the same thing to his own uncle." She leaned forward. "What did he ask you to sign?" "He called it estate planning documents," I said slowly. "Power of attorney, trusts." Carol's face went pale. "Mr. Brennan, do you own any property?" "The family cabin," I said. "Up in Whistler. My parents bought it in the 70s. After they died, it went to my sister Sarah and me. When Sarah passed, her half went to Ryan. So now it's jointly owned between us. Do you know what that cabin is worth now?" I hadn't thought about it. "I don't know. Maybe 400,000? Carol pulled up something on her computer, typed quickly, then turned the screen toward me. It was a real estate listing, my cabin, or one that looked almost identical, just a few doors down from mine. Properties in that area are selling for $2.5 million, Mr. Brennan. Probably more for a lakefront property like yours." The number hit me like a freight train. $2.5 million. I'd had no idea. The cabin was just the cabin. The place we'd spent summers as kids, where Sarah and I had learned to canoe, where I'd proposed to Linda on the dock under the stars. "He wants the cabin," I said, the pieces clicking into place. "He needs it as collateral." Carol nodded. "Whatever he's having you sign, I guarantee it's transferring your share to him, or giving him power of attorney so he can do it himself. Either way, once those documents are signed, that cabin is his to borrow against, sell, do whatever he wants with. And Mr. Brennan," she looked at me with something like pity, "with the amount of debt he's carrying, you'll never see that property again. He'll default on whatever loans he takes, and it'll be seized. Your family legacy will be gone." I sat there, frozen, as my entire understanding of the past 6 months rearranged itself in my head. The concerned nephew, the invitation to stay with him, the bonding, the dinners, the questions about my life. None of it was real. It was all a con. Ryan wasn't helping me. He was grooming me. "What should I do?" I asked, and my voice sounded strange to my own ears. Carol reached across the desk and took my hand. "Don't sign anything, not a single piece of paper. Get a lawyer. A real one, not anyone Ryan recommends. And Mr. Brennan, be careful. My son said that when he confronted Ryan about the money, Ryan got." ugly, threatening. People who are desperate do desperate things. Just then, my phone buzzed. A text from Ryan. "Where are you?" "I'm done. Waiting in the lobby." "I have to go," I said, standing up. "He's looking for me." "Here," Carol said, quickly writing something on a business card. "This is my personal cell. If you need help, if anything happens, call me, day or night." I took the card and slipped it into my pocket. "Thank you," I said. "You didn't have to do this." "Yes," she said quietly. "I did. My son lost his savings. Don't let Ryan take your home." I walked back out to the lobby on shaky legs. Ryan was by the windows, scrolling on his phone. When he saw me, he smiled and waved. "There you are. I thought you'd gotten lost. Ready for lunch?" I forced a smile. "Ready?" But everything had changed. I was no longer the grieving uncle, grateful for his nephew's kindness. I was what I'd been trained to be for 35 years, an investigator, and Ryan was now my case. Over the next week, I played my part carefully. I pretended nothing had changed. I was still the sad, confused old man, dependent on his nephew's generosity. I asked Ryan simple questions about the documents, nodded along when he explained things in condescending terms, acted like I was coming around to his way of thinking. "You're right," I told him over dinner one night. "I should stop being so stubborn about this." "You're just trying to help." I saw the relief flash across his face. "Exactly, Uncle Tom. That's all I want, to help." But while I played the compliant old man during the day, at night I became someone else. After Ryan and Madison went to bed, I'd slip out of the guest room and conduct my investigation. I went through their mail, photographing every bill, every final notice. I found court documents stuffed in a drawer, lawsuits from creditors. I found emails on Ryan's laptop, which he'd carelessly left open, discussing loans from private lenders with interest rates that could only mean one thing: loan sharks. I found the fake watches in his closet, still in their boxes with Chinese shipping labels. I found Madison's fake designer goods, purchased from websites I'd shut down more times than I could count during my years in fraud investigation. Every piece of their perfect life was a lie, and it was all funded by debt they had no way of repaying. But I needed more. I needed to know what I was really signing. So, one afternoon, while Ryan and Madison were both out, I took the documents to a Staples and made copies of every single page. Then I took those copies to a real estate lawyer, a woman named Patricia Chen, who'd handled the paperwork when Linda and I had refinanced our house years ago. Patricia read through the documents in silence, her expression growing darker with each page. Finally, she looked up at me. "Mr. Brennan, do you understand what these are?" "I was hoping you'd tell me." "This isn't estate planning," she said flatly. "This is theft. This first document is transferring your 50% ownership of the Whistler property entirely to Ryan for the sum of $1. This second document is giving him full power of attorney over all your assets, including your pension, your investments, everything. And this third document," she paused, her finger on a particularly dense paragraph. "This is particularly vicious. This is you agreeing to voluntarily move into a care facility if Ryan deems you mentally incompetent." The room spun. "What?" "He's building a legal case to have you declared incapable of managing your own affairs," Patricia said, her voice gentle but firm. "Once you sign these, he can take everything, and if you protest, he can have you committed." "Mr. Brennan, this is elder abuse, financial exploitation. This is criminal." I thought I'd prepared myself for the worst, but hearing it laid out so clearly was devastating. What can I do? First, you don't sign these. Ever. Second, you need to get away from him. You're living in his home, under his control. That gives him power over you. Third, she hesitated. Third, you might want to consider pressing charges. This is fraud, attempted theft. "He's my sister's son," I said quietly. "He's family." Patricia's expression softened. "I understand. But family doesn't give people the right to destroy you. Think about what your sister would want." That night, I lay in the guest room, staring at the ceiling, thinking about Sarah, my little sister. She'd been tough, funny, fiercely protective of the people she loved. She'd worked her whole career as a social worker, helping people in crisis. She'd raised Ryan alone after his father left when he was 6. She'd done everything right. Where had it all gone wrong? The next morning, things escalated. I came down to breakfast to find Ryan and Madison sitting at the table, both looking at me with expressions of deep concern. "Uncle Tom," Ryan said slowly, carefully, "Madison and I are worried about you. Last night, you came into our bedroom at 3 in the morning asking where Linda was. Don't you remember?" I froze. I hadn't left my room at all last night. "You were very confused," Madison added, her voice dripping with false sympathy. "You seemed genuinely lost. We guided you back to bed." "That didn't happen," I said. Ryan and Madison exchanged a meaningful look. "Uncle Tom," Ryan said gently, "this is exactly what we've been worried about. You're having memory lapses. It's okay. It happens at your age. But we need to be honest about it. They were gaslighting me, creating false narratives to make me doubt myself, to build their case that I was incompetent. My RCMP training kicked in. Never let them know you're onto them." "Maybe you're right," I said, sitting down slowly. "I've been feeling a bit foggy lately." "We think you should see a doctor," Madison said. "Ryan's made an appointment for you tomorrow." Of course he had. A doctor he'd chosen, who'd probably be told in advance about my symptoms, who'd write everything down in medical records that Ryan could later use as evidence. "That's very thoughtful," I said meekly. "I appreciate you both looking out for me." Over the next few days, the gaslighting intensified. My reading glasses vanished from the nightstand and appeared in the refrigerator. "Oh, Uncle Tom," Madison said, with exaggerated concern when she found them. "Do you remember putting these here?" My wallet disappeared from my jacket and showed up in the bathroom cabinet. My medications were moved around. Each time, Ryan and Madison would exchange worried glances, whisper to each other when they thought I couldn't hear, and then Madison posted on her Instagram. I saw it because Carol had warned me to watch their social media. I'd created a fake account just to monitor them. The photo was of me, taken from behind, sitting by the window looking out at the rain. I looked old, frail, lost. The caption made my blood boil. Walking alongside someone you love as they fade is one of the hardest journeys. Some days, Uncle Tom is sharp as ever, telling stories from his RCMP days. Other days, he can't remember where he put his glasses or why he came into a room. It's heartbreaking watching this strong man become confused and vulnerable. But Ryan and I are committed to keeping him safe and loved, no matter how difficult it gets. Elder care isn't glamorous, but it's necessary, sending strength to everyone else on this journey. We're all in this together. The hashtags were even worse. Elder care, dementia, Alzheimer's, caregiver, family first, blessed. She was building a public narrative. If I ever tried to fight back, to claim I was being manipulated, everyone would have seen months of documentation that I was losing my mind. Anyone, even a judge, would question my competence. It was brilliant and absolutely evil. That's when I knew I had to go on the offensive. If they wanted to see a confused old man, I'd give them exactly that. I started playing the part with Academy Award level commitment. I'd shuffle instead of walk. I'd ask the same question multiple times in an hour. "Ryan, what day is it?" "It's Thursday, Uncle Tom." 5 minutes later. "Ryan, sorry, what day did you say it was?" I'd stand in the middle of the living room, looking around with a confused expression, as if I'd forgotten why I was there. I'd call Madison by the wrong name, mixing her up with Linda, with Sarah, with women from my past. And all the while, they relaxed. They smiled at each other. They thought they were winning. But playing the fool gave me something invaluable: invisibility. People don't guard their words around someone they think can't understand or won't remember. Ryan started taking phone calls on speaker because he assumed I wasn't really listening. I heard him talking to his private lender, a man with a rough voice, who didn't sound like any legitimate businessman I'd ever encountered. "Just a few more days," Ryan said. "The old man's almost ready to sign. Then you'll have your collateral." "You better not be screwing with me, Brennan," the rough voice replied. "You're already 2 months behind. My patience has limits." I know," But the cabin's worth $2.5 million. That'll more than cover what I owe you. It better. Because if it doesn't, we're going to have problems. The kind of problems that don't go away. Ryan's voice cracked just slightly. I understand. After he hung up, I watched him pour himself a large scotch with shaking hands. He wasn't a criminal mastermind. He was a desperate, terrified man who'd gotten in over his head and was trying to use his own uncle as a life raft. It didn't make what he was doing any less wrong, but it made it more tragic. I started to understand why Carol's son hadn't pressed charges. Ryan was pathetic. But I had one more thing I needed to find. The thing I suspected existed but hadn't been able to locate. Sarah's warning. My sister had been many things, but she wasn't stupid. She'd known her son. She'd spent her career recognizing people in crisis, identifying addiction and dysfunction. She must have known about Ryan's problems, and if she'd known, she would have done something about it. I waited until a Saturday when Ryan and Madison went out for brunch with friends. They'd be gone at least 2 hours. I went into Ryan's home office and began a systematic search. In the bottom drawer of his filing cabinet, under folders of old tax returns and bank statements, I found a small, fireproof safe. It was locked, but it was also the same model I'd seen 100 times in my career. I knew exactly how to open it. Inside were documents. The deed to the cabin, Ryan's passport, some cash, and a small USB drive in a clear plastic case. Taped to the case was a note in Sarah's handwriting. For Ryan, to be opened after my death. I love you, but I know the truth. Mom, my hands trembled as I took the USB drive. I went back to my room, locked the door, and plugged it into my old laptop. There was one file on it, a video, dated 3 months before Sarah died. I clicked play. My sister's face filled the screen. She looked tired, older than her years, but her eyes were clear and fierce. Ryan, she began, her voice steady. If you're watching this, I'm gone, and I need you to hear something, probably for the first time in your life, because you never listened when I was alive. She took a breath. I know about the gambling, Ryan. I've known for years. I know about the lies, the debts, the people you've hurt. I know about the investment scam you pulled with those families in Surrey. Yes, I know about that too. I'm a social worker, baby. You think I don't recognize addiction and desperation when I see it? Tears started streaming down my face as I watched my sister, dead for 3 years, speak truths that still echoed. I'm not going to pretend I was a perfect mother, Sarah continued. Maybe I protected you too much. Maybe I made excuses when I should have let you face consequences. But I'm not going to let you destroy our family's legacy. I've already spoken with a lawyer. The cabin isn't just passing to you. I'm putting my half into an irrevocable trust. The trust owns it, not you. You can't sell it, borrow against it, or use it as collateral. When Uncle Tom passes, his half doesn't go to you either. It goes to the trust. The cabin will eventually be donated to a youth camp for at-risk kids, the kind of kids I spent my career trying to help. She wiped her eyes. I'm doing this because I love you, Ryan. Real love means protecting people from themselves, and I'm protecting Tom from you. I know you'll be angry. I know you'll feel betrayed. But maybe, just maybe, hitting rock bottom will finally force you to get help. Stop gambling. Stop lying. Stop hurting people. Be the man I raised you to be, not this person you've become. There's still time. There's always time. The video ended. I sat there in the silence, my sister's last words echoing in my head. She'd known. She'd known all along, and she'd protected us both, Ryan and me, in the only way she knew how. Sarah had taken away the temptation, the thing Ryan could destroy himself trying to chase. The cabin couldn't save him because it wasn't his to lose, which meant every document Ryan had been pressuring me to sign was completely worthless. He was trying to steal something that didn't belong to either of us anymore. I carefully copied the video to my own USB drive and put Sarah's back exactly where I'd found it. Then I called Patricia Chen. I need your help, I said. I need it fast. Over the next 2 days, Patricia worked miracles. She contacted the trust administrator, got copies of all the documents Sarah had filed 3 years ago, verified everything. It was all legitimate, The cabin was safe. Then she called the Vancouver Police Fraud Division and explained the situation. They assigned a detective, a young woman named Singh, who took my statement and reviewed all the evidence I'd gathered. The bills, the emails, the fake documents. "This is solid," Detective Singh said. "We have enough to charge him with attempted fraud and elder abuse. The question is, do you want to press charges?" I thought about Sarah's video, about her saying there was still time. "Not yet," I said. "I want him to face what he's done. But I want to give him a choice first." Ryan had scheduled a meeting with his private lender for Friday afternoon. He told me we'd be signing the papers then, making everything official. He seemed excited, relieved. The finish line was in sight. Friday came. Ryan had me dressed in my best suit, treating me like a child getting ready for a school photo. "You look great, Uncle Tom," he said, adjusting my tie. "This is an important day. After this, everything will be taken care of." We drove downtown in his BMW. Madison came along, dressed in white, already composing the Instagram post in her head about handling family affairs with grace. We parked in the underground garage of a gleaming office tower. Ryan led us to the elevator, pressed the button for the 18th floor. "Mr. Kovac's office," he said, bouncing on his heels. "He's been very understanding about the timeline." Kovac, the rough voice from the phone calls. The loan shark pretending to be a private lender. The elevator doors opened onto a reception area that was trying too hard to look legitimate. A bored-looking receptionist waved us through to an inner office. The office belonged to a man who looked like he'd be more at home in a boxing ring than behind a desk. Thick neck, cold eyes, expensive suit that couldn't quite hide the violence beneath. "Dmitry Kovac, Ryan," he said, not bothering to stand. "You're late." Sorry, Ryan said, all nervous energy. "Uncle Tom moves a bit slow these days. But we're here now, and we're ready to sign." Kovac's eyes slid to me, assessing, dismissing. Just a confused old man. "Let's get this done," he said. "I have another appointment." Ryan pulled out the documents, spreading them on Kovac's desk. His hands were shaking slightly. "Uncle Tom, these are the papers I told you about. Just sign at the bottom of each page." He thrust a pen at me. I looked at the documents, then at Ryan, then at Madison. They all wore the same expression: anticipation, greed, relief, the end of their problems. "Before I sign," I said quietly, "I have a question." Ryan's smile tightened. "Uncle Tom, we've been over this. It's just estate planning." "Where's Patricia?" I asked. The room went very still. "Who's Patricia?" Ryan asked, his voice too high. "My lawyer," I said. "Patricia Chen. I told you yesterday I wanted my lawyer present before I signed anything. Don't you remember?" The color drained from Ryan's face. "Uncle Tom, you're confused. You didn't say anything about a lawyer." "Actually," came a voice from the doorway. "He called me 3 days ago." Patricia Chen walked into the office, followed by Detective Singh. "Mr. Kovac," Patricia said pleasantly. "I'm Patricia Chen, Mr. Brennan's legal representative, and this is Detective Singh of the Vancouver Police Fraud Division. Nobody's signing anything today." Kovac rose from his chair, his expression darkening. "What the hell is this?" Ryan had gone completely white. His mouth opened and closed, but no sound came out. Madison grabbed his arm. "Ryan, what's happening?" Patricia opened her briefcase and pulled out a folder. "Mr. Kovac, you should know that you're about to accept as collateral a property that Mr. Ryan Brennan has no legal right to transfer. The Whistler cabin is held in an irrevocable trust established by Mr. Brennan's late mother. Ryan owns nothing. He can't borrow against it, sell it, or use it to secure any loans." She placed a document on the desk. "This is the trust agreement, registered with the province 3 years ago." Kovac snatched up the paper, his eyes scanning it. With each line he read, his expression grew darker. Finally, he looked up at Ryan. When he spoke, his voice was soft and deadly. "You tried to scam me?" "No, I didn't know," Ryan gasped. "I thought it was mine. My mother never told me." "Your mother told you," I said quietly, pulling out my own USB drive. "She made you a video, Ryan. She explained everything. You just never bothered to watch it. I'd gambled on that, but looking at Ryan's face, I knew I'd been right. He'd found the USB drive after Sarah died, seen it was a message from his mother, and shoved it in a drawer. He couldn't face hearing her disappointment, her judgment. So he'd never learned the truth. I don't care about family drama, Kovac growled. He stood up, and suddenly the office felt much smaller. You owe me $300,000, Brennan. I was willing to wait because of the collateral, but now? He stepped around the desk. Now, we have a problem. Detective Singh moved forward. Mr. Kovac, I'd be careful about making threats in front of a police officer. Kovac smiled, but it was the smile of a shark. No threats, detective. Just business. Mr. Brennan and I have an agreement. Payment is due, if he can't pay. He shrugged. That's between us. He looked at Ryan. You have 1 week to come up with my money. All of it. Or we're going to have a very different kind of conversation. Then he walked out, leaving his office like it had already stopped being his problem. Ryan collapsed into a chair, his head in his hands. Madison stood frozen, her perfect mask finally cracking. This can't be happening, she whispered. This can't be real. Detective Singh pulled out her badge. Ryan Brennan, I'm investigating charges of attempted fraud and financial elder abuse. The documents you prepared for your uncle to sign constitute— I know what they constitute, Ryan said dully. His voice was hollow, all the charm and energy drained out of it. He looked up at me, and for the first time I saw past the desperate con artist to the scared kid underneath. Uncle Tom, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Sorry you did it, or sorry you got caught? I asked. He didn't answer. Patricia began packing up her briefcase. Detective Singh has all the evidence she needs to charge you, Ryan. Whether she does is partly up to your uncle. Ryan's eyes widened. But Mr. Brennan has made a request, and I've advised him to consider it carefully. He doesn't want to see you in prison. Not yet, anyway. I pulled out a business card and placed it on the desk in front of Ryan. It was for a program called New Shore Recovery, a residential treatment center for gambling addiction. Sarah had worked with them for years. Your mother tried to get you into this program twice, I said quietly. You refused both times. You thought you could handle it on your own. How's that working out? Ryan stared at the card. Madison looked between us, confusion and fear on her face. Ryan, what is he talking about? Gambling? He's been addicted for 8 years, I said, not unkindly. Real estate development? That was never real, Madison. The money from investors went straight to underground casinos, online poker, sports betting. Every dollar he's ever touched, he's gambled away. Madison took a step back from Ryan, her face twisting with horror and rage. You told me you were successful. You told me we were building a life. You never asked too many questions, I said. Because the lifestyle was too good. The trips, the bags, the image. Even if it was all fake. She slapped Ryan across the face, hard. Then she grabbed her purse and walked out without another word. I didn't blame her. Ryan sat there, one hand on his reddening cheek, and started to cry. Not graceful tears. Ugly, gasping sobs. I've destroyed everything, he choked out. Everything she worked for, everything she wanted for me. I'm exactly what she was afraid I'd become. Yes, I said simply. You are. Detective Singh shifted uncomfortably, but I held up a hand. Here's what's going to happen, Ryan. You're going to call New Shore today. You're going to check yourself in. It's a 90-day program. And while you're there, you're going to start making amends. Patricia has a list of everyone you've stolen from, everyone you've scammed. You're going to work out payment plans. It'll take you years, maybe decades, but you're going to do it. And if I don't? Ryan asked, his voice small. Then Detective Singh arrests you right now, and you spend the next 5 years in prison, where the loan sharks can find you easily, by the way. Prison's not as safe as you might think. He flinched. This is your last chance, I continued. The last time someone's going to offer you a way out instead of consequences. Your mother tried to give you that chance. She took away your ability to hit rock bottom by destroying the family cabin, because she hoped you'd wake up before it was too late. But you didn't. So now, I'm giving you one final chance. For Sarah, not for you. Ryan looked at the business card for a long moment. Then he picked up his phone with shaking hands. "I'll call them," he whispered. "I'll go." Patricia nodded to Detective Singh, who put away her handcuffs. "I'll be monitoring the situation, Mr. Brennan. Any deviation from this agreement, and charges will be filed immediately. Understood?" "Understood," Ryan said. I stood up to leave. "Uncle Tom," Ryan called out. I turned back. "Did she? In the video, did she say she loved me?" I thought about Sarah's last words. "There's still time." "She did," I said. "Even after everything, she loved you. But she loved you enough to hold you accountable. That's what real family does." I walked out of that office, Patricia beside me, leaving Ryan sitting alone with his phone and his last chance. As we rode the elevator down, Patricia asked quietly, "Do you think he'll actually go through with it?" "I don't know," I admitted, "but I've done what I can. The rest is up to him." 3 weeks later, I was back in my house in North Vancouver, the house I'd shared with Linda. It felt good to be home, surrounded by real memories instead of Madison's curated performance. Carol, from the bank, had called me the day after the confrontation. "I heard what happened," she said. "How did you know?" "Detective Singh is married to my cousin. Small world." She paused. "My son wanted me to tell you thank you," he said, knowing that Ryan finally faced consequences. Even if it's just rehab and not jail, it gave him some closure. "I'm glad," I said. "I hope Ryan makes it count. And if he doesn't, then next time there won't be any second chances." Ryan did check into New Shore. I'd gotten one email from him, brief and awkward, saying he was there and starting the program. I didn't reply. He needed to do this for himself, not for my approval. Madison's Instagram went dark for a week, then came back with a long post about removing toxic people from your life and choosing yourself. She never mentioned Ryan by name. The cabin stayed exactly where it was, held in trust, eventually destined to become a camp for kids who needed it. That was Sarah's real legacy. Not property, not money, but the chance to help people build better lives. I'd learned something important through all of this. Family isn't about blood, it's about integrity. It's about holding each other accountable when we stray, and helping each other back to the right path when we're ready to take it. Sarah had tried to save Ryan by taking away his ability to self-destruct. I'd tried to save him by giving him one last choice. Whether he took it was up to him. But I'd protected what mattered. The cabin, Sarah's memory, my own dignity. Sometimes love means saying no. Sometimes it means letting people hit bottom so they can finally start climbing back up. And sometimes love means walking away from family when they refuse to be better. I'd spent 35 years as an RCMP officer, protecting people from criminals. I'd never imagined that one day I'd have to protect myself from my own nephew. But I'd survived. And I'd made sure that the next time Ryan tried to con someone, he'd remember the uncle who called his bluff and gave him a choice instead of just turning him in. I hope he makes the right choice, for his sake and for Sarah's memory. But either way, I know I did everything I could. Sometimes that has to be enough. If you've ever had to stand up to family, if you've ever had to choose between enabling someone you love and holding them accountable, let me know in the comments. And remember, real love isn't always kind. Sometimes it's tough, sometimes it's painful, but it's always honest. That's the legacy worth protecting.